So welcome back everybody to Survive in Minecraft. So before today's episode, I actually managed to go and find a whole nother ocean monument. It wasn't very far, but the whole reason I came here was because, well, I needed more sponges. Luckily, this ocean monument actually had 2 sponge rooms, so I was able to get a full stack of sponges out of it. But we were nowhere near done collecting all the resources we needed to for this mission. Sponges was just the first part of it. The next part was collecting a whole bunch of sand. I managed to destroy a few islands in the process, but it'll be totally worth it and put to good use when we're done with it. Promise you, we won't waste any. But of course, to have all this sand, we were going to have a way to turn it all into glass. And that's where kelp comes into play. Luckily, we're in an ocean and there's tons of kelp everywhere. It's real easy to get and it's a renewable resource. So of course, I spent a whole bunch of time collecting a bunch of kelp. That way we could use it as furnace fuel. That way we would have fuel to make our glass.
So if there's one thing that you should know about Sergeant Derps, it's that, well, he tends to overcomplicate every little thing he does. If there's something that could take 5 minutes, he finds a way to make it take 5 days. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, you see. But he is dedicated, and he always gives it his all. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, because Sergeant Derps is about to drain an ocean monument.
Well, welcome back everybody. Today, if you can tell, I've been a little bit busy with my furnace array I've got built up here. I've been basically smelting a whole bunch of kelp, making a whole bunch of energy that way because it's free. We're in the ocean and there's tons of it. But the problem is I really need to make one of these like super smelters because I've been melting down a lot of this stuff trying to get glass. And yeah, it's going pretty well. We've got a pretty good amount of glass saved up. And I think I've almost got enough to fill up the entire perimeter of this here ocean monument. Now, it's going to take a lot of glass to do this, and we're going to need to fill up a good chunk of it, and I've pretty much narrowed down how I want to do it. But yeah, because what we're going to be doing today is basically draining the ocean monument. So one thing that I really wanted to test out with this glass while we're waiting on the rest of it to smelt is what it would look like if we had some black stained glass, because I think the black stained glass is going to look the best underwater. You know, just as far as, because when we're under here, I want it to look really cool from underneath. So let's see what happens when we put this and we make like a wall of it, just so we can kind of get an idea of what we're going to be working with in the future. And I mean, I think this looks really good as far as once we have this built out big enough, because ultimately when we get done building this thing, I have a design for the actual guardian farm that we're going to make. And I think the black stained glass is going to look really cool up against that. So we could go with just regular plain glass, but as you can see, it has kind of a different look to it. So I mean, this you can see right through and it's kind of neat, but I just think there's something really cool about the black stained glass. Maybe we'll try a couple different colors and see which ones we like. So what we have here is we've got the black stained glass, which I think looks pretty good. This is the clear. This is white, which I think it looks really terrible. It just makes it foggy. And then gray. Now the gray and the black are very similar. Let me put them next to each other so we can get an idea what we're working with here. Let's see. What do we got? Bada bing. So yeah, okay. So the gray, well, the gray actually, it lets a little bit more color through. But it looks really nice, actually, surprisingly. It's a very expensive color, though, so I don't know. We might just stick with the black. Because even from back here, you can see kind of what it's going to look like. There we go. Okay. So anyway, now that that guy's gone, I don't know if I like the gray or the black better. I mean, they both look pretty neat, but I think the black is the way that we're going to go with this one. I just think it looks pretty good for this. So I think that's probably the color we're going to stay with compared to this one here. Yeah. I think that's what we'll do. Okay, so we have plenty of black stained glass now. I managed to kill a whole bunch of squid or octopus. I don't remember what they are. But we got a ton of ink sacs. And if we need more, we'll make more. We'll get more. There's plenty of sand in this area. And we've got tons in here still going away. So the good news is we can start laying out this glass shield all the way around this thing. That way when we're done, even if we need to go up here and restock and do all that, we'll be able to do it. So I think we're pretty well set up. So what do you think about that, Moo Cow? Is it time to go? That's what I thought. What about you, Mr. Kitty? You on board? You on board with this one, Mr. Kitty? Okay, then. You heard it, folks. Let's do it. So the very first thing I had to do was count out 3 blocks from each corner and then start making some pillars. These pillars we would do in all 4 corners so that way we know where the grid is going to be for this box. Then all I had to do was start filling in the walls, and boy, let me tell you, this uses a ton of glass. Like, so much glass, it's insane. I think it's about a 64 by 64 area. And the whole time, these dang guardians just would not leave me alone. They are nothing but pain. Pain and suffering. But we wouldn't let a little pain get in our way. We just continued building these walls one brick at a time. Slowly but surely, we'd get these walls put up, and we would have ourselves a nice little perimeter. Let me tell you, I have no idea what these guardians are protecting, but whatever it is, they're damn good at protecting it. Because, man, they hurt. Oh, and don't get me started on just how many squid I had to kill. It was a massacre. And there were a couple bats that tragically got trapped inside caves underwater. They're going to be there pretty much forever, unfortunately. Sorry, little guys. These dang guardians just won't let me do my job. My goodness. I swear, at this rate, I'm never going to get this wall built. So I think I finally came up with a method that works. I just kind of stand on the opposite side of the wall as I'm building it, and it just breaks the line of sight. Seemed to be working okay. Boy, it sure is a good thing this isn't a hardcore world. I'd be real sad. But since it's not a hardcore world, luckily we managed to get this perimeter completely up, and now all we need to do is clear out all the kelp and all the grass. It's pretty simple, you just kind of run around and do it, except for the fact that you got guardians trying to kill you the whole time. Kind of complicates things. Alright guys, you guys just stay, leave me alone. Hey, leave me alone. Hey, I'm just gonna hide in this hole. They won't see me here. We'll eat some cod. It's okay, it's okay. Hey, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. You get out of here, buddy. I'm gonna get you. Don't you even, oh God. Oh no, here we go. Here we go, time to run. Nope. Well, if it wasn't for all those pesky guardians, this thing would be a hell of a lot easier to do. But if it was that easy to do, you know, everyone would be doing it. So I guess that's kind of part of the challenge. This took a deceptively long amount of time. It actually took me all day just to do this. So be prepared if you're wanting to do this. This is a very long project. I should have thought about that before I started it. So I decided after completing the perimeter that I needed a little break and just do a little bit of fishing and calm my mind to prepare for the next stage, which is... oh boy. So guys, I know it's been a little while since the last video, and well, it's because I got sick. I'm still kind of recovering from it, but I'm finally feeling good enough to actually finish this thing. No, it's not the Rona. But anyway, let's get back to this build, and let me show you kind of what I've come up with for how we're going to finish this thing out. Well, I gotta say, these shaders really do look nice, but it really kills my frame rate, so I need to shut these off real fast. Yes, this is much better. Much more the way I like it. But anyway, I've had a lot of requests to do redstone in these builds, and I really want to incorporate some redstone, but in order to do the redstone I wanted to, I would need to literally clear out the entire ocean monument, brick by brick, all the way out before I could do any kind of redstone to actually clear the water. And it's just, I can't imagine doing it with those guardians in survival. If this was creative, that would be easy to do, but I'm doing everything legit in survival, so I don't want to go through that pain, and I don't think a lot of other people would want to go through that pain. So what we're going to do instead is come up with something that's more usable. It'll still be redstone, but something that I think would be more useful to everybody that's going to attempt this more than likely in survival. So let me show you the machine and kind of how it works, and give you a comparison between using just regular plain sand and doing it the way that I'm going to do it. So normally, if you were going to do this, you'd have to fill this entire area up with sand and then mine all the sand out. And that would take absolutely forever. It would be an insane amount of resources. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it in sections. And we're going to do sections of sand, and then we're going to come by with sponges and soak it all up. Which, it's not anything new. People have done this before. But the part that's unique is going to be what we do over here. And I'm going to show you a machine that's very portable, easy to build, and it makes this go a lot faster. So what we're going to do is basically every couple blocks, we're going to do a row of sand. That way we have space in here so we can actually get it with the sponges. But just to give you an idea, let me show you how long it takes to actually drop a full stack of sand and fill it all the way up. And then I'm going to show you how quick it is with my machine. So we'll start the timer right now. All right, there we go. So we'll stop the timer there. Now let's build this machine that I have and see just how long it takes to do the same. Let me show you how it's made. It's very simple. So what we're going to need is just some basic bricks. We're going to need redstone torch, redstone dust, and 2 pistons. It's that simple. That's all it is. It's very portable. It's very easy to use. The only thing is we're going to have to place a few spots we're going to have to do manually, but it's okay. Because what we have to do is we have to have a torch that's going to be basically underwater. We just need an area where the water's clear enough to where we can actually place this thing. So I'm going to just do that to clear the water because we got to have a redstone torch here. Okay, so no big deal. Nothing too crazy yet. Oh, shoot. I put that in the wrong spot. That's okay. We'll plop that there, and then we're going to plop one piston on top. As crazy as this sounds, I know it's a weird setup, but don't worry. It's going to make sense in a second. It goes right there, and then plop that right there. That should be the spot. So let's try it. Okay, here we go. Let's try it again. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit quicker, I think. That's pretty fast. Huh. Kind of weird. That's kind of quick. Every now and again it seems to get stuck, but I mean, for the most part, that's going to be really, really fast, and all we got to do is occasionally clear out a block. Not too bad. Oh man, these guys are so annoying. So let's see how long it takes to fill up a row using this thing, and I'll see just how much time it saves. This thing is so fast, I can't even... What in the world? Why is there all this sand coming back up, though? I must be hitting something like grass or something down there. I thought I got it all, but maybe not. I need to check that out. But I mean, look, we did almost all these walls in that little bit of time compared to doing it by hand. I mean, that's a huge savings of time. And this thing can be easily moved. And the push limit, I believe, is 13, so it can go really far. I just need to figure out why it was dropping. If there was something it was hitting. No, there's nothing in the way. Weird. I'll have to double check and see what's going on. What's that old saying? Work smarter, not harder. I'd say that's very true here. Oh, I guess we filled it up again. Not bad, though. I mean, that took like no time at all. If I was to do that all by hand, it would take way longer. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and finish building this all the way out. Do this entire area, and then I'll come back and we'll start working on draining it with sponges. So let's hit that time lapse. Okay, so I actually learned a few things after doing a couple of these that make it real easy, and that's once you get this wall going, it's a lot easier to build this machine. But also, I figured out why it kept messing up on me before, and it has to deal with because this is basically zero ticking this thing, and it has some weird behaviors because of it, because it literally will place blocks as fast as I can click it. So watch what happens when I do this. So when I go to place this, it's going to do it so fast they just hang. See that? So if I time it and I do like, 5 or 6 at a time and then do this, it doesn't get stuck anymore. It just does it and it goes and goes and goes. That's why what was happening is it was pushing it past the push limit and then it would get jammed up. So as long as I let go before it gets full, it never fills up all the way. And this thing is just insanely efficient. So I just basically go all the way. And then once I get it pretty close, oh, I just ran out of sand. Yeah, I've been busting my butt here. But once I run out of sand and it goes too far, then I just have to click it like one at a time. But it's literally, you can go click, 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 and it places it as fast as you can. So that's something I learned from this. Just a little tip if you are going to use this machine. It definitely speeds things up a lot. But yeah, it just makes a lot of sense to do that because it'll definitely make it go a lot quicker than if you do it all by hand. That machine just makes it to where it makes it so where you can actually place blocks faster than what you can by hand. So it will save time. Even though it only takes like maybe less than 30 seconds to put the machine up, that's about how long it takes to use it. But I mean, it just saves you so much more time. It's insane. So it's totally worth it for sure. But as you can see, I'm actually running out of sand. So one other tip is if you don't want to gather a million things of sand, what you can do is, since we have this sectioned off, is I could technically start draining these sections here. So drain these ones here and then leave this wall completely up once it's all the way down. So that way I can drain this out and then reuse this sand going down that way. So you don't have to use sand to cover the whole thing. So, I mean, you will need a lot of sand, but technically you'd only need enough sand to do like 2 walls and you should be good. So keep that in mind too. I want to show you though what it does when you get towards the end. Okay, see how we're basically full? So now what I'm going to do is it's going to get to a point where it's going to start wanting to jam. See what I mean? And it'll just fill, and then there we go. Now we're locked. So that's the push limit. So yeah, and then we just pick up some of these blocks. What happens is because it pushes so fast, some of them drop on the other one and it causes it to basically delete it essentially. So then it just gets popped out. Not a big deal, just every now and again there's a little excess you got to go pick up. Not a major ordeal, but for the most part this thing is super efficient and definitely worth it. 100% worth the time. Oh my goodness, you go underwater? Holy shoot. Holy bejesus. Okay, we need to go sleep. Oh my goodness, if it's not one thing, it's another. Oh, please. Kitty, get these phantoms away from me. Kitty, save me. Please, Kitty, keep them away. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Good Mr. Kitty. Thank you, buddy. You do a good job there, bud. Burn, you sons of bitches. Burn. Oh, I hate those guys so much. Let's get back to the grind. So after that little fiasco, I moved on to completing the last wall. That way we could move on to using the sponges to soak up all the water inside. Now sponges are great. The problem is that they fill up with water super fast, which is kind of an issue when you have to drain all this water. I mean, I had a stack and a half of sponges, and even with that, I couldn't dry an entire row. So it was definitely a painstaking process. Not to mention that below each row, there was also an underground section that I had to manually section off with sand. But I mean, I wasn't about to let that stop me. The only problem was that between each of these sessions where I'd be using up all these sponges, I'd have to make trips down to the nether to make sure that I could dry it all out, because that is the fastest way to do it without using any furnace fuel. And it's really, really satisfying. So then we just rinse and repeat it until eventually we drained all the water out of a couple of sections. Then we just had to repeat this process throughout the rest of the ocean monument. So one quick way to remove all this sand is to use the torch trick. You just place a torch as soon as you break the block, and it makes it all collapse in on itself. Super cool. But the real benefit is how it saves durability on your shovel, because if you were to shovel all these pieces, boy oh boy, would it wear out your shovel quick. Then I broke out the redstone machine again, and man does this thing come in handy. I mean, holy cow, this would have taken forever without it. But I will say one of the downsides of clearing all this water is it dramatically increases the spawn rates of these guardians. And that makes doing this job about 100 times more difficult than it needs to be. But that's okay, because we'll clean up all this water one sponge at a time. Even if it takes me, an entire week to do this. Oh boy. Why do I get myself into these things, I always jump into these big projects. But I gotta say, the real MVP of this entire build is this dang redstone machine. It is just way too efficient for what it is. I mean, if I had to guess, this thing probably saved me hours on this entire build. It's just crazy how efficient this thing is. But I gotta say, it does feel good to make some progress on this thing. It's really starting to come along. And this ocean monument looks way too cool outside of the water. But with each and every sponge, we got one step closer to getting this job done. With each brick of sand that we tore down and replaced, we just got one step closer. It felt really good to actually make some progress on this build, even though it felt like it was going so slow. Once we got to the final bar of sand, I could finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, when we finally got to place that last sponge. And boy, did that feel good. The only thing I had left to do was to remove all these barriers and check for any mobs spawning, which was pretty bad under here, but we were going to get that all taken care of. I managed to find a little friend here. I don't know what he was doing, but turns out this thing's in a slime chunk. Too bad we already have a slime farm. So I guess the last thing to do is to go inside and drain the inside of this thing. Problem is there's so many guardians now, because these are the only places where there's water. It is deadly in here. I mean, look at this. This is insane. I don't even know how many guardians there are, but it is ridiculous. But the one thing I found was adding partitions and then sponging the place up seemed to help keep them at bay. And then it was all about exterminating anybody that was left. They were all gonna pay for all the pain and suffering that they made me go through. I was going to make sure that they felt all that pain. Today was not a good day to be a guardian, but it was a great day to be Sergeant Derps McGee, because today we drained an entire ocean monument and rid the entire area of every single guardian. Okay, let's get out of this sucker. That just took way too long to do. But this thing is quite amazing, getting to see this thing completely drained. That took me so much longer than what I really expected it would. I mean, this whole area, I think it's like a 64 by 64 area. It's about 30 blocks tall, something like that. It takes a very long time to do this. So if you're gonna do this in survival, be prepared. But it is definitely worth it, because right now there's 0 guardians being spawned right now. So basically this is going to become one of the best areas for making our guardian farm, because this whole area is pretty much treated. So the next stage of this build, in order to do the actual guardian farm, we're going to have to tear down this complete ocean monument. I mean, all the way down, brick by brick. It's going to be much easier to do now because, well, we don't have to deal with guardians killing us, because those things are a nightmare. But luckily they're gone and they won't be bothering us as long as we don't put any water in here. So that's what we're going to do. It's also kind of interesting that this area is actually in a slime chunk. I'm not sure how many, but there's definitely a lot of slime spawning down there. So that means eventually we're going to have to like slab the bottom up or do like glass or something, because you can see there's quite a few slimes. And we already have a slime farm, so we don't need another one. But yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with how this thing turned out, and I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. But if I go any longer, this video is going to be way too long. So guys, let me wrap this up real quick. Alright guys, I think that's pretty much all we're going to get done today. I mean, we did a ton of work. We drained this entire ocean monument. And in the next video, what we need to do is we need to tear this thing down brick by brick. But it's going to be 100 times easier because there will be 0 guardians getting in the way. So that's what we're going to do in the next video. We're going to be making the actual guardian farm. It's going to be pretty interesting to do. It's going to be a lot of work as well, but it's going to be fun. I'm probably going to stream some of it on Twitch. But if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe on your way out. I really do appreciate it, and I'll be sure to see you in the next one. And have a great day. Bye. Oh, shit.